Welcome, everyone, to today's episode of Dare to Age Well Now. I'm very excited about today's conversation with Amber Ratcliffe. Amber, thanks for joining us. Would you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. So, I am currently the founder and CEO of Arbor Health, Functional Medicine and Psychiatry. But I didn't get started there. I started out as a molecular biologist, actually, and then started working on healthcare innovation after I'd been in the biotech world for quite some time. And that naturally led later in life to finding functional medicine, which is really kind of using molecular biology in the clinic to find the root cause of why people are not well. So our clinic, we really focus on trying to stem this tide of like chronic health conditions, chronic mental health conditions, because really it's all related. What I've come to learn from doing this for the last 7 or 8 years is that most mental health issues are actually physical issues manifesting as mental health symptoms. And so it's kind of one and the same. And that's what we do in our clinic for really people of all ages. I think our youngest patients are, less than a year old, and we've got people, up into their 90s.
Okay, wait, say that one more time. Our mental health issues are physical issues. Is that
Yeah,
what you said? Say that one more time.
absolutely. So I think one of the myths that most people have been told in their lives is that if you're struggling with mental health issues like anxiety or depression, or even more severe symptoms like bipolar disorder or even schizophrenia, that it is really the root cause is neurotransmitter imbalance, and it's genetic and there's really nothing you can do about it. But what I have learned from us treating, over 2,500 families in our clinic is that mental health issues are physical issues in your body that result in mental health symptoms. And so symptoms can come from a lot of root causes. What we're finding is that it's everything related to gut health, the microbiome that you're growing in your gut. If you have dysbiosis, your gut makes all of your neurotransmitters. It's where your immune system resides. And so toxins can affect it. Some of our most severe mental health cases are actually resulting from mold and Lyme as some of the root causes. And when we address those issues, or issues of hormone imbalance, or issues of thyroid, or other physical symptoms, the mental health issues resolve. And so it's fascinating.
It
But
is fascinating because I talk about a lot, and in my book, Traveling Light, I talked about sometimes if you are at a stage where you have physical issues and you've gone and done all the doctor visits and they're like, there's all the tests are normal, we can't find anything wrong with you. I'm like, are there emotional traumas that you're not addressing that are manifesting physically? But I love this take because you're saying it's a yes and it can be one or the other. And so that's why the
and
importance of getting down
mhm.
to that cellular level.
Right. And probably both. It's probably both. So, yes, absolutely. The things that happen to us in our lives, the stress that we're under, the traumas that we experience cause chemical changes in our body, and they're physical and they can be addressed. And so there really is both sides of the coin. But what we're looking for first in our clinic is for physical signs, physical testing to look at what systems in your body are out of balance, and then address those imbalances. And what we find is that the symptoms resolve when we do that. So there's so
Nice.
many ways. I mean, I could talk to you for like
Yeah.
25 billion hours on this
Yeah.
topic because it's so
Well,
fascinating. But, I'd love to bring you back to like
I was just
what
going
my
to
light
say,
bulb moment was. Yeah.
I was going to say, you have a passion for this
Yeah.
because notice that you say the founder and CEO, but that
hmm
means you're not one of the providers. This comes from a very personal story, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I was in startups for over 20 years, biotech startups, software startups in Seattle and San Francisco, and really burning the candle at both ends. It was also a mom and trying to juggle, having a career, having a family. And what I found was that I used to joke, but it was actually real, that I was running on adrenaline. I like literally ran on adrenaline all of the time. And what started to occur over long periods of time was that my body became, very exhausted from that constant state of heightened stress where I was just kind of like gutting it out and burning through, all of my reserves in my body. And at a certain point, we decided to move away from Seattle and come to Rochester, New York, which is where we are now with our clinic. And I was going to try to stay home with the kids for a little while and just kind of experience them in the early years of their elementary school. And when I took my foot off the gas, I absolutely crashed. I found that I just had this crushing fatigue. I couldn't sleep no matter how tired I was. I could maybe fall asleep, but for an hour or two, and then I'd be up in the middle of the night. My body ached. I couldn't think. It felt like this brain fog was so thick. I'd wander in a room. I couldn't figure out why I was there. And I was only 38. And I was finding that I was word searching. I'd be like, oh, the thing you drive, simple words like for car or coffee cup or, things like that. And it was really starting to scare me because I had been a very high-end consultant. I had been at the senior most levels of these startup companies as chief operating officer or head of strategy and product. I mean, I was the go-to person to think through complex problems for other people. And I couldn't figure out why I'd walked into my kitchen. And I knew something was terribly wrong. So I went to my doctor and they ran a standard blood panel and they said, you are super healthy. Maybe you're just depressed. Maybe we should just try some Prozac. And I just thought to myself, like, no, this is not depression. Like, you don't understand. I can't think. Like, there's something scary and wrong here. And I was frankly terrified that I might never be able to work at that level again. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to turn. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I am sitting here like going to try real hard not to cry because I remember feeling that way. I kind of joked and was like, I don't know how my kids will ever know if I have Alzheimer's because I got CRS now. Can't remember stuff right now.
Right.
And it was that early 40s and, well, no, mine was a little bit later. Mine was late 40s after I'd kind of the same thing, hit crash and burn after losing a job. And I didn't step off the wheel. I got kind of shoved off the carousel, so to speak. And it's so, especially if you're somebody who has identified yourself as somebody that is very high functioning and we use our brain, like it is so terrifying. It is so terrifying. So what was the next part of your journey?
Yeah. So before I found the solution, I started doing all the wrong things, which I'd love to share with your listeners, because if you've ever felt like that, I think a lot of people have been told like exercise will give you more energy. So I started doing these super intense boot camps at the local YMCA with my neighbor. And then we would sit in the sauna and just sweat for like a half an hour in our workout clothes and drink like a gallon of water and think we were hydrating. And later on, I found that all of those things were making it so much worse. So I ran across a blog about adrenal fatigue. And when I started reading this blog, like every light bulb I had started going off. It was describing every symptom I had. The waking in the middle of the night, the word searching, the brain fog, the crushing fatigue, all of it. And I realized this is what I have. And so I found a functional medicine provider, and the blog was on a functional medicine provider's website. And we now have a fabulous blog on this topic on our website for the same reasons, because I want other people to be able to identify that this now, I believe, is the silent epidemic of our time. I am not alone in having experienced this. Almost everybody I talk to that is a parent and trying to work, or even stay-at-home moms, I mean, that's an incredibly stressful job. I mean, those years where I was home were seriously just as hard, if not harder, than me being in the professional workforce, where I could actually like finish a cup of coffee and like my thoughts, like being constantly interrupted by children is super stressful. So I don't want to make it sound like it's only professionals that deal with this. I really think our entire society is so stressed out now that we're all experiencing this. So that's kind of how I found out what it was. And then, I can talk through a little bit more about how I got out of that state, because I did fully recover. And I know that that's possible for everybody else too.
So exercise isn't the answer. Well, please tell me that you also tried to like fix your diet, because that's also a classic answer. Yeah. Cut sugar out of your diet.
Right. Well, it's so funny that you say that, because during this period of time, I was actually doing it's called Eat to Live. And it is
Yes.
basically vegan with no salt, no added sugar, and no added oil, and all fresh fruits and vegetables, basically very little, just a few whole grains, and honestly, that piece of it, I thought was helpful for a period of time, but it
Sure.
didn't solve that problem for sure. Like there was so
Yeah.
much more to it. So
Mhm.
I do think it's important to eat healthy, but it's not going to solve this problem alone.
Yes, and that's what I just want to make the
Yeah.
point of, like, yes, absolutely we have to exercise. Yes, and of course we have to
Yeah.
eat. And sometimes there's a deeper problem. So tell us about
Yeah.
how you began to address the
Yeah.
adrenal fatigue.
Yeah, yeah. So when I went in to see this doctor that I was working with, they ran a full panel of blood work that went really deep into electrolytes and organ function and hormones. And the most impactful test for this particular thing was a 4-point cortisol saliva test. So you spit in a tube when you wake up, at lunchtime, at dinner, and at bedtime. And it's measuring how much cortisol you have in your saliva, which is the most accurate measurement over the course of a day, because it should be changing. It should be nice and high in the morning to get you up and you have energy and you can go on with your day. And as your day goes on, it should be nicely dropping until it's very low at night, because cortisol is inversely related to melatonin. So when your cortisol goes low, your melatonin should go high, and that makes you sleepy, and then you're able to stay asleep over the nighttime. But if you have no cortisol, you wake up dragging. You feel like you have to drink 9 cups of coffee and it's not helping. And you are just dragging yourself through the whole day. And then because of your cortisol being out of balance, your melatonin gets out of balance, and then you can't sleep either, no matter how exhausted you are.
That I love that, because there's, like, sometimes when you go, oh, we're going to go in and do blood work, and that's like, oh, well, I've fasted for an hour or two, and
Mm-hmm.
then I'm going to have this single snapshot. But what a more comprehensive view to get the
Right,
4 points throughout the
right,
day.
right.
And I love that you're like, cortisol is not all bad. It actually has a function. We can't be without cortisol, because it's like, oh, your cortisol level's too high. Well, in the morning, it is supposed to be. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
What was some of the next things that you did then?
Yeah, yeah. So when I got my levels tested, my cortisol was so low. It was pretty much flatlined. There's some other important tests too. DHEA is another measure. That's kind of like your gas tank reserve of energy. Mine was just zero. When you and to know that this adrenal fatigue is also connected to hormone imbalance, which is also connected to thyroid problems. So it's really important to get a full set of tests done, because the symptoms of these things being out of balance are very overlapping and very interconnected. And so really understanding that full picture was important for me. And that way we could identify there's different stages of adrenal fatigue. So stage 1 is, you're in good shape. Like you're a little stressed, but your body's handling it. Like stage 2, they call it like the fighting the tiger stage. Like you are like wired and tired, but like you are on and you can't settle down and you just feel like you're just going all the time. Stage 3 is you are crashing. Like your body's like, yeah, I am done even trying to make this molecule. I am so tired. Just leave me alone. And that's when your brain is just like shutting down. You're not wired anymore. Now you're just exhausted, and it's different than burnout, but it's similar. Like you just have no motivation. You're starting to lose interest in things. And at stage 4, I mean, it's incredibly serious. Like you can really get hospitalized for this type of condition. So I was at stage 3. I was pretty bad. So one of the things that they did was there are prescriptions that can help boost giving your body what it needs to make this molecule, because this is a survival molecule. So when you think about it, it does serve an important function. Like 500 years ago, we were mostly picking berries all day and gardening and, farming and hunting and gathering. But if a bear or a tiger jumped out at you, you would go into that fight and flight and run away and survive, but then you'd be able to come back to baseline. In our society now, you really don't get that. It's like, oh, you almost got in a car accident. Your kid's getting, in trouble at school, and you got a call from the principal, and now you're late for work, and you've got a deadline, and it's firing all day, like every day. And then you turn on the news, and it's, how many bad things happen today, and all of that. Our brains and bodies can't tell the difference between a life and death threat and these everyday occurrences. And so over time, it really wears your system down. So being able to support your adrenal glands in order to produce this survival molecule, giving it the basic building blocks so it doesn't have to steal from your hormones and it doesn't have to take from other molecules in your body to continue making it. So there was, different supplements, different medications, but honestly, the funniest one, and anybody can do this, which I was completely shocked was so effective, was sea salt lemon water with magnesium in it. I know, who would thought it the thought of drinking salt water sounds disgusting, I know. And
Right.
so I originally didn't take the recommendation from this provider. I just salted my food more. And, we were testing the sodium and the potassium in my blood because your adrenals need a ton of electrolytes. So me sitting in that sauna, sweating and drinking lots of water, I was depleting it even more. And really, you can end up in the hospital from this electrolyte depletion. So you put salt in the water, but not to the point where it's salty. And the lemon actually creates a more alkaline environment, which is counterintuitive, but you've got sensors in your mouth that actually make your blood a little more alkaline. And then the magnesium, we're almost all completely depleted of magnesium just because of our modern farming and other things. And you need it for almost, tons and tons of different things that your body needs to do. So even drinking that gave me so much energy and just started to give my adrenals what they needed to heal over time. And then I stopped the crazy exercise. I just started doing walks and some gentle yoga. And I really prioritized sleep and took some supplements to kind of really help calm myself down. So like L-theanine is a wonderful supplement. It's an amino acid. It actually comes from green tea, but you'd have to drink like gallons and gallons of green tea to get the amount that you would get in one little capsule of this. So taking that early in the evening really just helps you kind of start to calm down, starting to take a little bit of melatonin. There's some other herbals like lemon balm and things that you can take to help gently support sleep and kind of keep you asleep. And then eating enough protein is super important as well before you go to bed, because often the reason you're waking up in the middle of the night is in your heightened stress state. You're getting a big drop in blood sugar and your body's waking you up because it thinks you're dying and you need to go eat. So if you eat protein before bed, but not carbs, like a little handful of nuts or like a meat stick or something, it can help keep your blood sugar stable while you're sleeping and actually get you through the night. So a lot of people are into fasting, and that is great for some people. If you are in adrenal fatigue, it is not a good idea for you, typically is what we're telling our patients. You want to keep a nice stable blood sugar. And when you go into a fasting state, it can be stressful on your body. So while you're in this recovery stage, it's not the right time to do it. It doesn't mean it's not right for you at another point in your life, but generally speaking, we don't recommend it when you're in adrenal fatigue.
My brain is like lighting up with all different kinds of stories, because I remember when I was pregnant and I struggled with early morning sickness, the doctors like, eat protein right before you go to bed. And so they were like, it will stay with you longer. So it was like cheese and crackers before I went to bed or something. I don't know why cheese back then, but it's been 30 years. And then the other thing is that when I went to India on a humanitarian mission back in 2001, and the first day we're in like cultural training, and our number one thing is you will not be seen without water, and it has to have lemon in it. They were like, the lemon in the water actually will help you absorb the water. If you just are drinking straight water, your body, you're too close to the equator and you're not accustomed to being the equator anyway. And it always stuck with me.
Yeah.
That I didn't know that. And then L-theanine, I have been taking that for a little while and I'd forgotten what it was for.
Well, it's really fascinating. It does two things. It both helps you focus and think, yet it's incredibly calming at the same time. So we actually recommend it for our patients that are struggling with ADHD as well, because it's both calming and focusing at the same time. So it's really good. And you can, take it all day long if you need to, definitely look at the instructions on the bottle and, take care of the dosage. But, it is something that we do recommend people take even up to 3 times a day to just calm themselves and help them focus if that's something they're struggling with.
Okay, this is not a sponsored post, but I have been on my sober journey. I'm 5 months in and feeling a lot better. And to kind of give me the effects of that, I've been taking a little drink called You Relax, and it
Mm-hmm.
has L-theanine, kava, lemon balm, and I forget the fourth ingredient. And like you mentioned, basically three of them, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and what's funny is that I take it like in social situations. Like I said, I liked it because it does literally just give you the relaxing sensation without
Mm-hmm.
without the alcohol, the negative effects of alcohol, which I love. But I have noticed that it feels like if I think about the social interactions I've had when I've been taking like You Relax, because sometimes I'm like, oh, this helps a little bit with my social anxiety. No, it's helping me focus because I am ADD and you're in a social environment and there's all these inputs.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, thank you for letting me know why that was working for me. This is fascinating, and we will. I have been on magnesium for several years, and there's so much goodness in magnesium. I could probably do a whole podcast just on why you should take
Oh,
magnesium.
you could. Yeah. And there's different forms and it does, slightly different things. So, yeah, absolutely.
I would love to get we'll get the recipe and put it in the show notes for the water that you were talking about. Dr. Amber, if people want to come and find you online, where can they find you?
Yes, we are at arborhealth.com. So it's ARBOR with a hyphen health.com. And if you just go into Google as well and type in sea salt lemon water, we are usually the first result. So,
Okay,
yeah, so there's a whole blog
fantastic.
on it. It gets into why we recommend the kind of salt we do, because not all salt is created equal. Certain salts have up to 83 trace minerals in them, actually. So you're kind of giving yourself a little supplement by putting a pinch of salt in there. And then it gets
Wow.
into, the recipe. I actually now find it to be delicious. And I like to drink it in the morning instead of coffee. Like you, I think that especially if you're in adrenal fatigue, like trying to cut out the alcohol will improve your sleep, which is really critical to healing. So,
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being on the show today. And I hope all of you listening are inspired to dare to age well now.